Looking for strategies to help you protect your portfolio in these uncertain times? Visit robblack.com. robblack.com, powered by EP Wealth.
Welcome in, March 23rd, 2026. Markets are jumping after President Donald J. Trump says productive talks have been held with Iran. More on that in a minute. Hopefully your March Madness brackets aren't causing you to be broke and poor and destitute because you're betting too much more than you should. More on that coming up. Project Hail Mary was a big winner chicken dinner in the Amazon MGM era. So Amazon bought MGM Studios. And this was a pretty big bet based on a science fiction book, I believe 4 or 5 years ago. So today stocks are soaring. Oil prices are plummeting. President Trump said he is pausing the strikes on Iranian energy infrastructure for 5 days following productive conversations to end the war. Trump got on CNBC this morning, says that talks are intense. I'm summing up here as best as I can. Iran is saying that there have been no negotiations, referring to Trump's comments as psychological warfare. But Trump on CNBC said not willing to settle on government shutdown deal at this time. Commented briefly on ICE agents at airports. Does not recognize Khomeini's son as the leader. Asserts Iran still has leaders. Says the leader may be found like it was in Venezuela. Claims Iran lacks telecommunications, implying poor internal coordination. Claims 15 points of a deal were reached. Reiterates that Iran was an imminent threat. If a deal is reached, U.S. will take over Iran's enriched uranium. Distinguishes potential attacks on Iranian power plants from Russia's actions in Ukraine. He said that the Strait of Hormuz may be jointly controlled following a possible resolution. Cleaning out my car this weekend, and there was an empty Vita Coco. And I asked my kids, like, which one of you guys got this thing? And one of my kids fessed up. It was him. And I was like, vitamin cocoa nut water with pineapple. And I was like, is it delicious? It's got some fairly heavy calories in it for something that says water. But coconut water, obviously, not water per se, but I had questions. So I made him do a little bit of work on telling me about the investment in vitamin cocoa, ticker symbol COCO. Coconut water remains one of the fastest growing segments in the beverage aisle, driven by rising household penetration and expanding consumption. Coconut water offers functional benefits, including 3.5 times the electrolytes of the leading sports drinks, while also appealing as a natural, versatile product for smoothies, cocktails, and hangover recovery cases. Pretty fascinating. It's being added to the S&P Small Cap 600. It's in the early stages of mainstream adoption, positioning cocoa as the forefront of a long-term growth trend. It's doing well in developed markets, with market share well ahead of the next largest competitor. Vita Coco has built a strategically advantaged supply chain. It believes it creates a competitive moat and significant barriers to entry as the category scales. Management sees a substantial runway for household penetration growth. We like the word runway on the show a lot. What's the total addressable market? Cocoa believes it's feasible for U.S. businesses to double over the next 5 to 7 years its business in the United States, supported by distribution gains and increased retail visibility. Recent shelf resets and expanded placement at Walmart are viewed as an early signal of growing retailer support. Being added to the S&P Small Cap 600 is a meaningful near-term catalyst. It'll mechanically drive demand while elevating the company's profile amongst institutional investors. The more compelling story lies in the long runway for coconut water as it transitions from a niche product to more of a mainstream beverage category. Expectations are rising alongside the stock's strong performance, so execution on distribution expansion and sustained constant consumption. Growth will be critical to drive further upside. It's not a home run. It's interesting. Ticker symbol is COCO. Melius research firm, an analyst there named Ben Reitzes, is suggesting that Microsoft, the reorganization of its Copilot and possible lawsuit against OpenAI and Amazon are signs of a meltdown. The analyst says paying extra for AI is no longer a thing. He adds that customers want AI-first tools, not seat-first fossilware. Microsoft looks like a buy right now. Kirk Materne offered, he's an analyst with Evercore ISI, for the record. He says, looking over the horizon, Azure, upside potential, and E7 optionality, given the moving parts in software right now, it is not entirely surprising that Microsoft is getting caught up in the undertow. While fundamentals remain robust with total revenue growing 15% in the second quarter, powered by Azure's growth of 38%. The lack of Azure acceleration combined with higher CapEx growth and some questions related to Microsoft's broader AI strategy with Copilot are collectively weighing on the shares. He says there is no quick fix to the capacity issues facing Microsoft, and as such, Azure acceleration is likely a second half 2026 event, and in our view, the lack of a near-term catalyst for Azure and debate over allocations of GPUs is keeping investors on the sidelines for now. That said, at 18.5 times generally accepted accounting principles earnings per share, a lot of apathy is already reflected in the valuation. So any acceleration in Azure later in the year or inflection in the Copilot narrative likely represents upside catalyst. A lot of analysts right now are trying to figure out how to play Microsoft and how Copilot is doing in the world of AI. It's very early in the days of potential adoption. Some highlights are some takeaways from recent discussions with Microsoft partners and customers regarding the company's broader AI strategy. It's got a lot of revenue. It's got a lot of problems that need to be tinkered with. Bank of America is raising their price target on Darden restaurants to $272. Darden restaurants, it's not my type of investment, but they have the Olive Garden, the Longhorn Steakhouse, Ruth's Chris. It's interesting to look at, but that's on the bet that casual dining comes roaring back. And with the question on gasoline prices right now, the tax refunds hitting, I see why there's kind of a big storm on, let's try to pick this one correctly. Elliott Investment Management's going after Synopsys now. It's an activist investor, multi-billion-dollar stake in the chip design software company. It wants to improve financial performance. Shares of Synopsys are up on the news that someone's trying to shake up the company. In this case, Elliott Investment Management, and say, you could be more profitable if you want to be, and here's some ideas. Apple's likely the only major smartphone maker to take share in 2026, according to Morgan Stanley and a survey. Switching rates are improving to 5-year highs. iPhone sales in China surged 23% during the first 9 weeks of 2026. Apple stands out positively in our late 2025 AlphaWise smartphone survey, so says analyst Eric Woodring. He highlighted China's upgrade rates improving. He talked about a foldable phone. In his survey, he found conclusions that Apple will be the only major smartphone OEM to gain share in 2026 because of the foldable phone. The consumer perception of and willingness to pay for Apple Intelligence is deteriorating year over year, while unprecedented memory price inflation is likely to drive global smartphone prices higher. That's a positive for overall smartphone industry, though more so for Android over Apple. Collectively, these results support 3% above Street 2026 iPhone revenue forecasts and point to a strong potential for above-trend average selling prices growth from the foldable phone in 2027. Their iPhone revenue is 4% above consensus expectations, implying the strongest 2 consecutive years of iPhone growth in over a decade. Apple also got some love from Bank of America today. Price target moved to $320 from $325. I guess it's not love, is it? Lowered just a skosh. The analyst Wamsi Mohan said our checks in Asia suggest Apple will likely introduce its foldable iPhone in 2026. We expect the features to include an inner screen book style foldable 7.8 inches, under 10 millimeter thickness, and folded. The foldable is expected to have Touch ID in its first generation and no Face ID and no physical SIM. Given that it is a major form factor change, he expects initial demand to be strong, and the supply chain is gearing up for a range of outcomes from 10 to 20 million units. This is much higher than competing products. Samsung's foldable phone is in the single-digit millions wise sold. He expects higher demand for Apple's products from China and from the Pro Max users that would like a larger screen, reiterating a buy on multiple catalysts, including AI at the edge, launch of foldable, and strong capital return. That's something I'm hearing more and more about analysts liking Apple because of how much they pay in dividends and stock buybacks. Mizuho is looking at MongoDB. A firm upgraded the stock to a buy from hold, raised the price target from 290 to 325. It is a software as a service model, so will it get caught up in a market rebound and or not is a big question. It's too much of a civil war for me. Amazon is getting some conversation today from Barclays. They think Amazon Web Services, an AI deal, is driving the Amazon backlog to $350 billion plus dollars. So Barclays is raising their revenue forecast for the year. The recent OpenAI agreement brings overall spending on Amazon Web Services to $138 billion over 7 to 8 years. They've layered this into their estimates with a slow ramp-up period in 2026. Expected this to be reflected in the backlog, which should be moved north of $350 billion. Anthropic's annual run rate is inflecting upwards on Claude Code and Cowork. The company has seen average recurring revenue increase 35% in a matter of weeks. Trying to layer this into their forecast accurately, but admittedly, estimates are likely to continue to creep higher. Amazon shares have not really done all that well over the past few years. And this analyst is hopeful that the company's improving position in AI is a catalyst to unlock value. Investors are grappling with things like fuel price impact on shipping costs. Fuel cost inflation is manageable for Amazon. Other near-term items that they see as an issue are IPOs from leading AI labs, and the growing momentum in agentic AI in enterprise could be the story that we look forward to. I have a Pints and Portfolio coming up in less than a month. It's on the peninsula in the South Bay. You can sign up for it at robblackshow.com. It's robblackshow.com. Hope to see you there. I always like getting together with like-minded investors and people who are thinking about retiring. How are you doing? What are you doing right? What are you doing wrong? Just very informal. I'll buy the beer. You can sign up at robblackshow.com.
The markets are more volatile than ever. Inflation, interest rates, global uncertainty. If you have $500,000 or more invested, ignoring it could cost you your future. At EP Wealth Management, they offer a free preliminary financial plan, a chance to identify potential risks in your portfolio before the next downturn hits. Get insights from Chad Burton, CFP, and Rob Black, trusted voices in financial planning and retirement strategies. They'll help you spot hidden risks, rebalance thoughtfully, and uncover opportunities to grow and protect your wealth even in turbulent times. Their goal? To help you feel more confident about your financial future during uncertain times. Don't wait for the markets to decide your future. Schedule your complimentary preliminary financial plan at robblackshow.com. That's robblackshow.com. EP Wealth Management. Plan smarter, live better, no matter what the markets do. Investments not FDIC insured. Past performance does not guarantee future results. Not an offer to sell or a solicitation to buy any security. Member FINRA SIPC.
Taking a look at the markets as we're a couple hours into the trading, the markets are holding up, but they are giving back some of the gains. Stocks surged on news that Donald Trump called off the Iran strikes for now. Wall Street is cynical, and there's a question on whether Iran agrees with what Washington is saying. I suppose the way we're going to look at this is give it a couple days, see what happens. Will there be regime change? Will we get nuclear materials out of Iran, if that was the goal? U.S. construction spending unexpectedly fell in January. Tax refunds are up this year, but higher gas prices are eating into those savings. DraftKings and Flutter, who does FanDuel, it's a horrible name. Change the name from Flutter to FanDuel as a stock, please. Their stocks are jumping on reports that lawmakers are planning to keep sports betting out of prediction markets going forward. Alphabet/Google's Wing is going to start drone delivery in the San Francisco Bay Area. Amazon's introduced they're testing a four-legged dog-like robot to deliver packages to your door from the truck. I did a piece over the weekend on my Friday show, and one of the segments included Mark Cuban talking about, I don't really see humanoid robots. I see like spider robots and dog robots in people's homes and in our lives, but he doesn't really see the humanoid. And Wall Street's fascinated by the humanoid robot thing, and Elon Musk at Tesla, he's betting his future on the humanoid robot, i.e. walks on two legs. Even OpenAI wants to have romantic relationships available via ChatGPT. And it's getting a little creepy, like the movie Her, which is really an old movie when you look at it, but it's aged really, really well. So it's been 10 plus years since that was out there. Oil is diving today as Trump backs off the Iran threats, says talks are underway. Iran, again, I'm telling you, they're denying it. So it's pretty wild news. Me and a friend got into an argument not that long ago, and I'm just talking a mathematical argument, a conversation, if you will, about news and where you get your sources from. And for me, it's a lot of BBC for world news, but a lot of financial, like Bloomberg and the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times for the news tied towards the markets. I think your news source is super important, and I try to be honest and fair with you on most of my opinions, and I try to help. So anyway, analyst Dan Levy is talking Tesla today. He says one of the feedback points we received on our report last week was that Tesla was facing a steep step up in CapEx, even beyond the elevated $20 billion plus that has already been communicated by Elon Musk and the company. What's clear, Barclay said today, is that our bull capital expenditure target for Terafab of $50 billion plus appears dramatically low versus the aspirations Tesla has communicated, and could be many multiples higher and likely well more than an order of magnitude higher. Yet it seems that the bulls are braced for this, knowing that you need to spend if you want to win. Noting, though, we expect Tesla to undergo construction in multiple phases, slowly ramping up the 1 terawatt target. And we would assume that Tesla and SpaceX / XAI will contribute funding, because it's tough to tell the companies apart these days. I talked a little bit about this in earlier remarks just a minute ago, but sports betting stocks rose today on the idea that there's a bipartisan pair of lawmakers that are seeking to ban Commodity Futures Trading Commission regulated companies from offering sports-related contracts on prediction markets. Senator Adam Schiff, a Democrat out of California, and John Curtis, a Republican out of Utah, said the bill would prevent companies like Kalshi and Polymarket's U.S. arm for posting event contracts related to the outcome of sporting events, a market that accounts for a sizable chunk of their volumes. It's interesting to note that I had to have a conversation with my kid to show him how prediction markets are different than gambling. I think both of them are pretty heinous. I think both of them are in our economy and in our lives, no matter, I'm not going to say no matter what, but they're in our lives. There was a brilliant article in the Wall Street Journal last week about how gambling is ruining the lives of a lot of male college athletes, because there's a weird fraternity when you're in a college sport, and a lot of people are using their debit cards, stealing their parents' credit cards, and losing lots and lots of money. So it's a big winner for DraftKings, ticker symbol DKNG, and Flutter Entertainment, ticker symbol FLUT. They're both rising today on the news that a bipartisan pair of lawmakers are trying to ban companies like Robinhood from doing these bets. Prediction markets covering sports and other contracts. It's pretty insane if you haven't looked into it. I can bet on the temperature in my hometown today. Will it be higher or lower? I'm not a weather person. Although as I've gotten older, I pay more attention to weather and precipitation, especially on things like roofs. Ethereum is jumping today. A lot of short positions are being covered in digital currencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum right now. Will that be enough to push them to all-time highs? There was a bearish mood on digital currencies as it wasn't really responding, Bitcoin and others, as we had predicted. And I say we, the financial community, had predicted they should act. But on any given day, these stocks will move. And I would say be very cautious. I look at them more as trades versus investments. I don't have anything insane to say, like, I think Bitcoin goes to 1 million. When I pay for someone to fix my roof in Bitcoin, I'll have a different opinion. I think Ethereum is the most interesting digital out there, as it's a lot of transaction network verification, which there is a need for faster financial transactions with security. The idea of writing a check and then your bank gets note, someone goes to deposit it and takes 2 days to take it out of your account and put it into their account. It's too slow. Palantir's popping today. Its Maven AI targeting systems have been made official program for the Department of Defense. Palantir's Maven artificial intelligence systems is going to become the official program of record, according to the Deputy Secretary of Defense, Steve Feinberg. A move that locks in long-term use of Palantir's weapons targeting technology across the U.S. military. Key benefits of being named an official program of the record include eligibility for permanent funding from the Department of Defense. That designation also implies a long-term commitment to a technology which significantly decreases competitive threats from alternative military contractors and vendors. U.S. airlines are doubling down on premium seats as the K-shaped economy takes off. And I did a little thinking on this weekend, and I'm not bragging, but I have wealth, and I talk about wealth preservation, retirement planning all the time. And this summer, I'm sending my kid for a travel program to Japan. Last year, he went to Spain. I wish I would have had that kind of travel in my youth, especially before 18, to see the world and to experience the world. But I started thinking about U.S. airlines are still doubling down on premium seats as the K-shaped economy takes off. So the K-shaped economy, the upper arm of the K, are people with high incomes and wealth. The lower leg is the middle class and people who make less money, lower incomes. And it's going to tie back into my kid going to Japan in just a second. With airports across the nation still seeing delayed security wait times, I heard 4 hours now at Atlanta's airport, and that's a big hub. First class or business class tickets get to go into the priority lane. America's biggest airlines are also betting that passengers are now willing to upgrade. A new report from the Wall Street Journal that was published yesterday details how airlines have shrunk traditional economy cabins over the last decade to make room for a growing number of premium offerings. The number of scheduled business and first class seats on domestic flights has expanded by 27% since January of 2020, almost 3 times greater than the 10% growth seen for scheduled economy seats. That's not even accounting for premium economy, an intervening class that became a standardized option for major airlines in the 2010s. They can be priced at twice as high as the regular economy seats and only take up slightly more room on a plane. The share of seats that are now premium by the airlines, Delta's at 13%. United, 12% of their seats. American, 11%. Alaska, 10%. On average, about 12% when you blend them. A lot of airlines are rolling out redesigned cabins to make planes more financially efficient, adding room for expensive tiers by cutting into cheaper sections. That trend speaks to the emergence of wealthy people in America. There's a crazy wealth transfer that's happening as America's starting to get old. And what I mean by that is people are turning 100. And I use the term 100 to give you that idea that 101 years ago, we were more of a farming nation than we are now. Very little of our economy is struggling. Very little is doing it just to put food on the table. Our farms have turned into, from individual owners to community owners to big farms that obviously, cover more land, but are profitable on that bigness. So looking at premium seat sections making up a greater share of major airline cabins, it got in my head that Americans are coming into a lot of wealth. And I did a story last week about the number of women and how many trillions of dollars they're going to inherit because their husbands die first. And again, we go back 100 years. So we're now talking, we're getting more turnover of wealth. It's called wealth transfer, and it's going to be huge. For me, in my 50s, I want to fly first class now because that's one area where I can express my wealth and actually enjoy. Sending my kid to Japan across the big ocean, 14 or 15 hour flight, I'll upgrade him to first class because he'll enjoy it. It'll be an expression for him of relaxation. It's ridiculous to think that I'm going to pay twice as much as you, who's back in economy, for him. My parents never did that. But the K-shaped economy, airlines are getting it. And as an investor, I want you to start thinking, more and more Americans are going to come into more and more wealth. And as we do, how do we express it? Will it be luxury cars? Will it be purses? Will it be first class versus economy? There's a lot of spending that's going to go into that. China's EV startups, the trio of them have all become profitable. NIO, Li Auto, and Xpeng, all publicly traded. NIO is NIO. Li Auto is LI. Xpeng, XPEV. They're all profitable. They reported a quarterly profit net of about $55 million. I bring this up because companies like Rivian are delaying their profitability in the United States. There's a lot going on with Uber and Lucid and partnerships. China's cracked the code. They figured out how to do innovation really, really well in robotics and electric vehicles. Better than the United States has. Danone, a big food company, is going to acquire a meal replacement shake maker called Huel, which is a weird combination of the word human and fuel. So it's Huel, Huel. It's a celebrity-backed protein bar, powder, meal, and meal replacement shake company. Danone, apparently the number one yogurt producer in the United States and the nation's top plant-based food and beverage company, said that buying Huel will enhance its presence in functional nutrition. I've never heard the phrase functional nutrition. Do those words belong next to each other? But Danone also makes Evian and Actimel. They praise Huel's best-in-class digital execution and fan bases across the UK, Europe, and the United States. And again, I'm always looking for things to learn from. Best-in-class digital execution. The company was set up, Huel, about a decade ago, but its marketing has been really buzzy, digitally speaking. Product range that varies on-the-go eating with nutrition denseness, plant-based ingredients, and a decent list of celebrities. Idris Elba, for instance, very UK-based marketing. Sales have surged. Let's take a quick look at the numbers again, see how the day is going along. Yeah, we gave back some of the gains, but we're having a nice day. The Nasdaq's up 1.3%, the Dow's up 1.4%, the S&P 500 up 1.2%. Gold is down 4% to 43.86. Wasn't it just a second ago at 5,000? Bitcoin's up $1,600 today, sitting at 70,415, and the 10-year Treasury sits at 4.37%. To me, that's one of the stories behind the stories. Is the bond market's not seeing a great future for the United States. It's seeing inflation in the future. Getting a 4.3% U.S. government guaranteed return is pretty good for a lot of Americans, especially when it beats inflation. I have a Pints and Portfolio coming up Saturday, April 18th, 11:30 to 1:30 in Sunnyvale, California. These are great events. I love doing these. I pay the bill. I don't even submit it to my company. The idea is that we sit and have a beer or two and talk about the markets. We talk about financial planning, wealth preservation, talk about our kids, the cost of life. And I go over some of the stocks that I bought recently and why. It's always a good time. Sign up at robblackshow.com. That's robblackshow.com. The event's coming up. Sunnyvale, California, April 18th, 11:30 to 1:30, or roughly 2. That's probably good as well. Talk to you soon. Oh, listen to my afternoon show podcast. I do 2 a day. Find it where you find podcasts, like you found this one.
Don't want to work forever? Check out the Retirement Planning Guide on robblack.com. That's robblack.com, powered by EP Wealth.